Can't sleep? Well, there is that thing from a while ago that you said. You know the thing that I would read you a bedtime story? I can read you one now, you know. I know. Okay, you get ready for bed, and I'll read you a bedtime story just like I promised. You get comfy, I'll wait. Okay, you ready? Okay. I think I've got a good one. Here we go. Okay. Once upon a time in the woods near a small village lived 4 little rabbits. Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter were their names. The 4 little rabbits lived with their mother under the root of a giant fir tree in a sandbank. One day when Mother Rabbit was going to the baker's, she told her children to go out and play. "Now, my little one," she said, "you may go down the lane and play, but be very careful and don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden." Mother Rabbit sighed before she continued. "You all know that your father had an accident there, don't you? You remember that he was put into a pie by Mr. McGregor." Mother Rabbit warned her little ones before she set off with her basket and umbrella. "1 loaf of fresh brown bread and 5 currant buns," she told the baker. Meanwhile, the little rabbits went out to play. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail were good little rabbits. They obeyed their mother and went down the lane as she had told them, where they gathered blueberries. Peter, however, was a naughty rabbit. He was determined to go to Mr. McGregor's garden, and he decided to go alone. So he left his brothers and went to the garden on his own. When he reached the garden, he squeezed himself through a hole in the gate. The garden was huge and overflowing with vegetables. First, he ate some lettuce, and after that, he ate some French beans, and after that, he feasted on some radishes, and after eating all that, his stomach was quite full. He felt sick. "Now I shall look for some parsley," he thought. He looked around the garden for some parsley and found some by the end of the cucumber patch. As he went there, Peter ran into Mr. McGregor. Now Mr. McGregor was planting cabbages when he saw Peter. "Thief," he called. "Stop, you thief." He ran after Peter. Peter, now trembling with fear, hopped around the garden, but the poor bunny had forgotten the way back to the gate. In a hurry, he bounced from one patch to another, but he lost one of his shoes to the cabbages, and the other he lost among the potatoes. He was so busy avoiding Mr. McGregor that he had forgot to look ahead and ran into a gooseberry net. Peter was caught by the large buttons on his blue coat. He struggled and struggled, but could not free himself. "Mr. McGregor will surely catch me now," Peter started to cry. Peter's cries were overheard by some sparrows nearby. They came to Peter and found him stuck in the net. "Don't give up, little rabbit. Push yourself. We are sure you'll be able to break free." And so Peter struggled. But he saw Mr. McGregor coming towards him. Mr. McGregor had a sieve, and he wanted to strap little Peter. Peter wriggled out just in time and ran off, leaving his blue jacket behind. Peter saw a tool shed ahead. Without giving a second thought, he rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. Once inside, Peter realized it had been a mistake to leap inside the can. The can was filled with water. He was drenched and shivering. Soon Mr. McGregor entered the tool shed. He knew the rabbit was inside, somewhere. Mr. McGregor carefully turned the flowers and pots in the shed, looking for little Peter. Peter was cold inside the pot. He sneezed loudly. The sneeze gave away Peter's hiding spot, and Mr. McGregor was after him in no time. Mr. McGregor tried to put his foot on Peter, but Peter jumped out of the window and ran away. Peter sat down to rest for a moment. He was tired, he was frightened, and he was so very damp from soaking in the can. After resting, Peter began to walk around the garden, but he did not go fast. He was trying to find a way out of the garden before Mr. McGregor found him. Soon, Peter found a door, but it was locked. He looked around and saw a fat little mouse scuttling about with some peas. "Do you know the way to the gate?" he asked the mouse. But the mouse had a large pea stuck in her mouth. She could not answer. She shook her head, and Peter began to cry. Peter wandered around looking for the gate, but the more he wandered around, the more confused he became. He came to a pond with some goldfish, and a cat sat ready to pounce on the fish, but Peter didn't bother them. He had heard about cats from one of his cousins. Peter heard a strange noise. He went under the bushes and looked, but found nothing. Then he climbed upon a wheelbarrow and saw Mr. McGregor hoeing onions. Mr. McGregor's back turned towards Peter, and beyond him was the gate. Now Peter carefully climbed off the wheelbarrow and made a run for the gate. He was as fast as his little legs could carry him, on the straight path behind the black currant bushes. Mr. McGregor saw the rabbit and called after him, but Peter did not care. He did not look back one bit. He ran furiously with his eyes set on the gate, and at last Peter slipped underneath the gate and ran off into the woods. Mr. McGregor hung Peter's coat and shoes on a pole as a scarecrow, and Peter did not stop running until he got to the big fir tree at last. Peter was extremely tired, and he flopped down on the soft sand in the rabbit hole and quickly fell asleep. Mother Rabbit was busy cooking. "I wonder what he has done with his jacket. This is the second jacket he's lost," she thought. When Peter got home, he was very tired, so his mother put Peter to bed with some tea, whereas his brothers Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had delicious bread, blueberries, and milk for supper. The end. Good night, sweetheart. I love you. Sweet dreams. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. Like the video and subscribe while you're there. It helps a lot more than you know. Don't forget to check out the links in the description. Some pretty cool stuff in there, I think. You might be surprised. I'll see you later.